All right, Shalom. First and foremost, giving all praise to Yahweh Bashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachakwadash, double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who rule well. Peace and blessings to the hopeful elect. Shalom to the men of the Lord, prophesying, preaching, and teaching on the highways and byways in sincerity and in truth. Shalom Barakathum. It says here, the horrifying inflation crisis that you were warned about is here. All right, now, brothers have been going in. This is an article on Blacklisted News. You can see here. For many a years, talking about this collapse that's coming, and it's not just even Hebrew Israelites that speak on this, man. There's all types of financial channels on YouTube, various places that basically are telling you the same thing. The alarm bells are going off, telling you this whole thing is going to collapse. We're at a very high risk of hyperinflation, and if you don't know what hyperinflation is, it's basically, let me get it. Hyperinflation. Hyperinflation is a term economists use to describe a period of extremely high inflation, which measures the rate of rising prices for goods and services. Typically, an economy has to see an inflation rate of greater than 50% for at least a month before economists use the hyperinflation label. Now, imagine, gas is $4 one day, and the next day is $6. Which $4 is already high, but people in California are starting to see that. But we know hyperinflation can go into the thousands and thousands of percent increase, man. This is an example, some images of it over here. All right. These are basically people who are essentially poor with wheelbarrows of cash with nobody trying to rob them. Why? Because this money is useless. It's damn near worthless. It's more labor today to carry all of this than it was back then, Look at that. That's when the money becomes useless. Now, we saw this happen around the time of World War II. All right. Look, you got kids just playing with stacks and stacks of money, probably millions worth on paper. But what they can buy with it is basically nothing because the prices of everything has gone up tremendously. All right, look. This is how you get $100 billion. Imagine walking around with $100 billion on you, and all you can hope to get is some food for the week. That's what hyperinflation is essentially. So it says all of a sudden inflation is one of the hottest political issues in America. Most people seem surprised that inflation has gotten so wildly out of control, but the truth is that this should not be a surprise to any of us. We have been warned for years that this was coming. Now, how do we know this was coming? Because the money system is corrupt from the foundation of it, man. It was always set up for the people on the bottom to lose, and the Edomites, primarily Edomites on the top, to win. All right. This is Proverbs 11:1. It says a false balance is an abomination to the Lord Yahweh, but a just weight is his delight. All right. Now, why is it an abomination? Because it's basically robbery. It's mass robbery. It's one thing to rob one person, but to rob everybody at the same time and then kind of sort of gaslight them into making them think that it has this value that it really doesn't have. That's what he's been doing the whole time. He's been making you think this U.S. dollar has the value that it really doesn't have. All right. The American dollar, the last time it had its true value was before the 1920s. All right. After 1913, they moved it to the dollar. Right. And as soon as World War I came out, they printed a bunch of money, or they had to. That's a major devaluation of the currency. Every time you go to war, ancient Rome did this. They had to devalue the denarius every time just to maintain their war, the military campaigns. They devalued it, man. So after the First World War in 1917, that's when you saw a major collapse in the value of the dollar. But it was still backed by silver and gold at the time. Then World War II came, FDR came around, and basically, man, after like 1935, you know, they I believe they stopped letting you exchange it for gold, like in person. Like in the way back in the day, you used to be able to go to the bank. $1 used to be worth 1 ounce. $1 in weight is roughly a troy ounce. So you used to be able to take a dollar, all right, and get an ounce of gold or silver at the bank. But in World War II, they had something called Fort Knox. I forget when was Fort Knox created. Okay, it was around 1918. So Fort Knox was that. So no longer can you just go to a bank and get your money out. The U.S. government says, look, we're going to hold all the gold in one, and it'll still be backed by gold and silver, but it's not going to be. You can't just walk up to a bank and get it anymore. The government says you got to trust us. we're going to hold all the billions and billions and trillions of gold and silver and platinum. All right. And that's basically, that went on and on and on. But when World War II happened, what happened? They had to stretch the dollar even more, man. All right. And then in World War II, after that, you had all of these. You had the World Bank created. The International Monetary Fund was created. The Bank of International Settlements was created. The UN. All of these world organizations got created. And by 1970, he completely, in the Nixon era, he completely ripped the dollar from the gold standard, period, man. He basically just said, fuck it. We're not even going to pretend that we're going to let you back this money by gold. So what happened to all the gold, man? So this guy robbed you, man. That's what a false balance is, all right? And he did that to hundreds of millions of people and has continued to do it. It says, whenever our corrupt politicians in Washington authorized trillions more in spending that we couldn't afford, we were warned that this would eventually cause extremely painful inflation, right? So that's true. But it didn't happen immediately, and so most Americans didn't take the warning seriously. Now, that's true. He can kick the bucket down the road by printing money, doing, creative witchcraft on these balance sheets. Like the Fed has something called a balance sheet, right? And basically they can issue out FRNs, Federal Reserve notes. All right, they can loan money out basically. All right, and the Fed does not have to balance its balance sheet. Now the whole aspect of a balance sheet is that it always has to tie out. There's an asset side and there's a liability side. All right, so if you get more in assets, right, that should go on the other side of liability should go up too. All right, if you get more liabilities, the asset side of the balance sheet should go up as well. All right, and so they both should tie out to the same amount, and they should be accounted for on the opposite sides of each other. But the Fed can just take money, basically expand its balance sheet into infinity. All right, loaning out money, increasing its liabilities without ever having to balance out the asset side. And so that's basically how they print money and devalue the currency, because there's only about $500 billion in like 500 billion in printed US dollars, like actual paper. But the US global economy is what, 70 trillion US dollars in circulation. That must be the 1.2 trillion. So they printed more actual paper. Let me see. Uh, should be something like around 70 trillion. I just put in global GDP. Okay, now it's up even more. So that makes sense why the cash went up to 1 trillion, because now there's 84 trillion dollars, man. 84 trillion in circulation. All right. And Esau has printed the vast majority of that money in the last couple of years. And what's going to happen? That pork y'all like so much at the store, that's going to go up. See, Jake doesn't understand or care about any of this stuff until, you know, he can't pay his light bill or he can't get groceries. But this is coming to touch you, man. All right. It says, and experts at the Federal Reserve kept pumping trillions of fresh dollars into our financial system. Yep. We were warned that there would eventually be severe consequences. But those consequences did not arrive immediately, man. And we've been telling you the same thing too. All right. This is Psalms 39:6. It says, surely every man walketh in a vain show. Surely they are disquieted in vain. He heapeth up riches and knoweth not who shall gather them. All right. So that's the majority of people, man. They're heaping up riches not knowing who shall gather them, because this US dollar, all of a sudden, that job you worked to make $100,000 a year for, now that money that you work for is getting ready to be worthless pretty soon. Because what can you buy with it? It's not about how much money, how many dollars in your bank account. It's what can you get, what assets can you buy with it, man? And ultimately you've given that power of what things are, what value things have, to the devil. And what do you think he's going to do with it? You're going to see more and more wealth inequality, right? Right? In the second quarter of 2020, the share of net wealth in the United States held by the top 10% increased slightly from the previous quarter to 70%. At the beginning of 1990, this was 60%. So 10% of people own 70% of the wealth, man. And if you go up to like the 1% of people, they still own half the wealth. That's crazy, man. Well, people think this is a democracy, you know. That's not how it works. When Esau only has to go to his own people to make things happen, that means he's ruling over you. This ain't no goddamn democracy, man. Who do you think these 10% are? You think those are Jakes up there? You think because you got a Kanye and a Jay-Z in the billionaire club, quote unquote, that they make up a significant portion of this, man? Hell no. This is trillions and trillions of dollars of wealth, and it's primarily Esau, all right? And you Jakes, y'all are in entertainment. Y'all are not in the position to make policy decisions, you know, change laws and things like that. You niggas are rappers or ball players or some type of other form of entertainment, you know. I didn't want to bring that out yet, but he heapeth up riches, going back to Psalms 39:6. He heapeth up riches and knoweth not who shall gather them, man. Esau is going to gather this, man. You Jakes have been greatly fooled, you know. It says, but those consequences did not arrive immediately, and so most Americans didn't take the warning seriously. But now a day of reckoning has arrived, and conditions are only going to get worse from this point forward. And when it gets really, really bad, where people are starting to riot in the streets and knock people over the head for their groceries, for bottled water, he's going to introduce the solution. And we know what that solution is, you know. It's going to be in the form of that charagma, man, you know. Psalm 62, it says, trust not in oppression and become not vain in robbery. If riches increase, set not your heart upon them, man. So this is why we preach not to be worried about all of this, man. This Jake got this whole getting the bag demon on, this whole clout chasing demon. You know, where we're taking a picture of the money on Instagram is more important than what he can do with it. And you got these simple ass women following behind him as well too. In that day, man, all you niggas taking pictures on Instagram, y'all gonna be just like these niggas, man. This gonna be Jake, all right? He gonna be carrying all that money and trying to buy a sandwich, you know. But let's read James 5. We'll close out real quick. It says, "Go to now, ye rich men, weep and howl for your miseries that shall come upon you." So we know the rich man is Esau. All right. Your riches are corrupted and your garments are moth-eaten. You just went over that in inflation. All right. The false balance that he's created, the U.S. dollar, this concept of printing money, not having it backed by any commodity at all that can be have any intrinsic value. All right. Esau is letting you have a piece of paper with his face on it and telling you this is what you're worth, and whatever that is whatever I say it is. It says your gold and silver is cankered, and the rust of them shall be a witness against you. Now we know gold or silver doesn't tarnish, all right, because that's why they're made currency, because they're valuable in the sense they never tarnish. Gold will sit there for thousands and thousands of years, and it will be in the same state. Not one bit of it is going to decay. All right, you can come in and wipe the dust off of it, and it's good. So gold and silver doesn't canker or rust. So we know that this is talking about this money system, man. The thing that's supposed to be backed by gold and silver. The way that it rusted was Esau taking them off the gold standard and him printing the hell out of money. It says, "And shall eat your flesh as it were fire. Ye have heaped treasures together for the last days." All right, so this treasure that he's heaped together, we saw that in the income inequality. Even though the dollar's worth bullshit, you can still buy physical assets with it, you know. So lucky I lost the page. It's going to show you that, but we know 10% of the wealth or 10% of people, which are basically Edomites, own 90% of the wealth. All right, and that's just the wealth that's on the books, man. These Rothschilds, all of these guys, they have incalculable wealth, man. Incalculable, you know. It says, "Behold, the hire of laborers who have reaped down your fields, which is of you kept back by fraud." Because this whole damn thing of America, the whole money system, America itself is a giant Ponzi scheme, man. Paying taxes just so this nigga can go off and trick it off overseas for more non-U.S. military troops. All right, because that's where the bulk of the military is going. Is going to contractors, man. You know, who are not a part of the military. And he's charging you trillions of dollars every year, man. This is hell, man. All right. It says, "And the cries of them which have reaped are entered into the ears of the Lord Sabaoth." Now that's the elect, because Jake is suffering like hell, man. All right. It says, "Ye have lived in pleasure on the earth and have been wanton. Ye have nourished your hearts as in the day of slaughter." So what does that mean? When he's at his peak, which he's at right now of taking over things, that's him being nourished for the day of slaughter, which means the day of slaughter is near. All right. So I'll end it there, man. Hopefully you brothers were edified. Call halal Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai Ba'Hashem Rachakwadash Wa Abba Babal. Shalom.